bit of background. And for anyone who has heard about the ABLE program, maybe you'll learn something new today. We might have some updates for you. So we'll get into all the details and we will have more than enough time for questions right when I'm done. So, for individuals with disabilities, specifically those who are receiving SSI, they are limited to having $2,000 in their own name at any given time, or their benefits will get suspended. So that has been very limiting for people. That $2,000 asset cap has not increased since 1989. What people do a lot of the time is spend money down on things they don't want and things they don't need, uh, just in order to maintain their benefits. There's other options available to them, like having all of their money in someone else's name or taking out cash and hiding their money. But the cash one is certainly not a safe option. It's not what anybody would recommend. So that's where the Federal ABLE Act came in. So the Federal ABLE Act um, was signed into legislation in 2014, and it authorized all of the states nationwide to be able to open their own ABLE programs, and then individuals in those states could open their own ABLE accounts. New York's was launched in October of 2017, and we currently have a little under 3,000 accounts, over $30 million invested, and over 17.5 million withdrawn so far on qualified disability expenses. So that means that people are really using the accounts as they were intended. They are saving money long term, but they are also spending their money, accessing their money whenever they need it. So that's really great. So, high level overview of the program is that New York's Achieving a Better Life Experience program is designed to help individuals with disabilities and their families to save for their disability related expenses, to earn income on investments free from taxes as long as they're used for qualified expenses, while maintaining their ability to benefit from SSI, SSDI, Medicaid, HUD, SNAP, and other similar federal programs. So any of the money in their ABLE account is not allowed to be counted as a resource by those federal programs. So who's eligible to open a New York ABLE account? So New York ABLE is now a national program. So anyone with a disability in the US can open an account. So they have to be a US citizen or resident alien with a disability that was present before the age of 26. So to certify that they have a disability, they have to meet one of the following qualifications, not all four of them, just one. So if they're entitled to SSI or SSDI due to their disability, they would qualify. If they're classified as blind, they would qualify. If they've got a disability that's included on the Social Security Administration's list of compassionate allowance conditions, they would qualify. Otherwise, they would basically just need a doctor's note. And a couple of things to note is, number one, we are considered a self-certified program. So that SSI letter or that doctor's note, whichever your qualifier is, you do not have to send that in to us. You would just hang on to that, make sure you have it filed away somewhere, so that if you were ever to be audited by the IRS, you would be able to prove that you did in fact qualify for your ABLE account and that your purchases were qualified purchases. That is just so that you don't have a tax penalty, because ABLE is a tax deferred program, a tax beneficial program, because the money can grow tax free and be removed tax free instead of being counted as taxable income. They need to, if you're audited, they would make sure that you qualified, just so that you don't have to have the tax penalty on the growth in that account. Another thing to note, like as I said, you need to have the disability in place prior to 26, but that age limit is going to be increased on January 1st, 2026. It's going to be changing from 26 to 46. So speaking about your specific population with epilepsy, if the epilepsy was due to an injury and not a disorder that was in place their entire lives, if it was due to an injury that happened after 26 but before 46, they would still be able to qualify, in a little over 2 years. So that's good there. The other thing to note is that none of these qualifiers, really the only qualifier is US citizen or resident alien with a disability that was in place prior to 26 right now. So that it doesn't say that you have to be receiving benefits or that you can't be receiving benefits or that you have to be working or that you can't be working. So this really can adapt to any category of individual with disability. So if the individual is receiving federal benefits, then an ABLE account is hugely beneficial for them because they can now save more money without it being counted against them. But if they're not receiving benefits, if they're able to work full time, if they've got a disability, they'd still qualify. They would just be using it for other long term savings or for retirement or instead of a health savings or a flex spending account. So New York Able can really adapt to whatever situation or needs you have. So some things that differ from New York Able accounts from um, other accounts that you may be more familiar with, like a special needs trust or a 529 college savings account. With a special needs trust and a college savings account, there is an account owner and there is a beneficiary assigned to the account. So the beneficiary in the case of the special needs trust would be the person with the disability. In the case of the 529 account, it would be the child eventually going to college. And the account owner would usually be the parent or grandparent or trustee in both of those cases. So what that means is the money is supposed to be used for the beneficiary, but the beneficiary doesn't technically own the money. All that money is in someone else's name. So they technically have to go to the account owner in order to access their money. And technically, the account owner could just close the account and access all the funds and take the tax penalties if they wanted to. Um, so that's not always the best option for everyone. So with the ABLE accounts, the account owner is the beneficiary. So that means for an individual with a disability that is capable of managing their own finances, they get to with an ABLE account. So they get to open the account for themselves. They get to choose how all the money is invested, choose how all of it is spent without any third party, any intermediary between them and their money. And they still have the benefit of it not being counted against them as far as their benefit programs are concerned. So that's really great. Eligible individuals can only have one ABLE account nationwide. So if you have one in a different state and you want to open one in New York, you would open your New York one, let us know that you already have an ABLE account, and we would get a rollover started for you and move all of the money from the old ABLE account into the new one. And anybody can contribute to a New York ABLE account. So friends, family, parents, grandparents, anybody can put their money into the ABLE account and it would all still be under the control of the account owner, the disabled individual. So who can actually be the one to open a New York ABLE account? So everything on the screen right now is all in order of priority. It's considered a hierarchy. So number one, first and foremost, as I said, if the eligible individual can manage their own finances, then they get to. They're number one. Nobody else gets to open the account on their behalf if they want to manage their own account. So they get to open it up, number one. They can also select someone to open and manage the account on their behalf if they are capable, but just choose not to manage their ABLE account. So, say they are married and their spouse happens to be the one that manages all the finances in the house, they can just select their spouse to manage the account on their behalf. That's totally fine. If the eligible individual lacks the legal capacity to open an account, then we open up this more expanded hierarchy. So one can then be opened up on their behalf by any of the following people, again, in order of priority. So power of attorney and conservator and legal guardian with property powers were always allowed to open the accounts on behalf of the eligible individual. But that was limiting. Sometimes parents wanted to open the account for their children, but they didn't have the right kind of guardianship, or they didn't want to get guardianship. Or it was going to be costly to go back to court to get the right kind of guardianship. So then they were just stuck and weren't allowed to open the ABLE account. Now we have a more expanded hierarchy that went into effect a year ago. So now spouse, parent, sibling, or grandparent of the eligible individual is allowed to open the ABLE account on their behalf, and also a representative payee appointed by Social Security. So the hierarchy comes into play if more than one person wants to open and manage the account. So if the rep payee wants to open an account on behalf of someone and their parent also says, no, I want to be the one managing the account, then the parent would win out in that situation because they are higher in the hierarchy. So whoever's opening the account on someone else's behalf would have to check a box that states that there's no one above them in the hierarchy that is ready, willing, and able to open the account on this person's behalf at this time. So it doesn't mean that there can't be any other family or anyone else in place at all. It just means that they need to be okay with you being the one managing the account. So that's where the hierarchy comes in. So what is a qualified disability expense? That is what the money in the ABLE account can be spent on without having any tax penalties. So qualified disability expense is any expense that is incurred as a result of living with a disability and is intended to improve the health, independence, or quality of life of the disabled individual. So these expenses include, but are not limited to the following. These are all of the examples given to us by the IRS during legislation. So the examples right now are education, health and wellness, housing, transportation, legal fees, financial management, employment training and support, assistive technology, personal support services, oversight and monitoring, and funeral and burial expenses. So you can see that it is a very expansive list. Um, I think it is a more expansive list than a special needs trust. It's certainly a more expansive list than a college savings account. So New York Able really can, like I said, work for whatever your needs are. Um, and again, we want you to hold on to the receipts. You can even write the justifications right on the receipt so that if there's ever an audit, you're able to tell the IRS, here's my receipts. Look, these were all for qualified expenses. And the IRS has basically given us the indication that um, as long as you can make a justification to yourself for that purchase, you should be able to make the justification to them. So they're not being too nitpicky with people. You just want to make sure before you're making the purchases, keep in mind this definition and these examples and make sure that you can justify the purchase to yourself based on these parameters, and then you should be good. So right now, the maximum that you can contribute to a New York Able account per year is 17,000. That is always in line with the gift tax exemption. It's pretty much the same reason that you're only allowed to have one Able account nationwide. The IRS wanted to make sure that no one was gifting you so much money through your Able account that it should be considered taxable income. So right now the gift tax is 17,000. So if anybody gives you 17,000 or under, it can be considered a gift instead of taxable. January 1st, that's going up to 18,000. So the annual contribution limit for ABLE will also be going up to 18,000. If you, as the account owner or your loved one, if you're opening the account on their behalf, if you work, then you may also be eligible to contribute an additional amount on top of that 17,000, equal to the annual poverty, the federal poverty line for a one-person household, or your annual income, whichever is less, on top of that 17,000. So if you fall into that category that you do work, you can go onto the website and get all the details to see if you qualify to contribute that additional amount. Maximum account balance right now is 520,000, and we will monitor all of these contributions and let you know if you are going over that 17,000, issue refunds, all of that. So the only difference from that last screen is if you receive SSI benefits. So this does not count for SSDI recipients or Medicaid recipients or anyone not receiving benefits. But SSI specifically, they're the ones that have that $2,000 asset cap right now. They say that they will count anything in your ABLE account over 100,000. So while New York Able says you can have up to 520,000 total in your account, SSI says anything over 100,000 will be counted towards your resource limit. So if you're receiving SSI and you're opening an Able account, that's just a number to keep in the back of your mind, keep an eye on so that your Able account doesn't ever cause your benefits to be impacted. So, when you sign up for your New York Able account, we give you a choice of 5 different investment options. They include 4 portfolios that range from conservative to aggressive options and an FDIC insured checking option. And you can choose any combination of all 5 of those options. So, checking option, of course, is all cash. So it's not going to be invested in the market, not going to be at risk at all. It'll be nice and safe, but it also won't have any opportunity to grow like the investment options are. So that's why some people choose to diversify their accounts and have some of their money going into um, a few of the different options. The checking option also will come automatically with a debit card. So, checking option is the easiest to access your funds. Quick and easy. You can write a check just like any other check. You can use your debit card just like you would use any other debit card. Super quick and easy. Um, but the investment options, if you've chosen those, can still be accessed at any time. It's just not as quick. So with the investment options, you would just call us or sign into the website and request a withdrawal, and a check would come in the mail. So this is a chart showing what the different investment options are made up of. The aggressive is about 85% stocks and 15% bonds. And then the more conservative you get, the less stocks there are, more bonds, and more cash, obviously making those a little safer to put your money in until you get to the checking that is all cash. If you are unfamiliar with investing or uncomfortable with investing, you can certainly always choose 100% of your money to go into the checking option. That's always an option for you. But if you are interested in the investment options, but you're just not sure which to choose, we do have a page on our website called the What Kind of Investor Are You page that is designed to help you make those decisions for yourself. So it asks you questions like, what do I want to save for? When am I going to need the money? How tolerant am I to risking my money in the market? And it's kind of designed to bring you back to the rule of thumb that the longer you're looking to invest, if you're looking to save for retirement or a house or something like that, then you might be more comfortable with a more aggressive option. If you're looking to spend the money on a regular monthly basis, maybe for your monthly bills, then you might be more interested in a more conservative option or the checking option so that the money is not at risk as much as with the aggressive options. So that's a typical rule of thumb. But the our website will ask you those types of questions and help you um, get to a decision for yourself of which of those options are best for you. These are the fees associated with a New York Able account. Right now, we have a 0.36% asset-based fee. So if you've got any of the investment options chosen, then there would be a 36-cent fee for every $100 that's in the account. There's a checking option fee of $2 per month, but that can be completely waived as long as you have an average daily balance over $250 or if you choose electronic delivery of your statements. So the checking option fee is super easy to waive. Then there's a quarterly maintenance fee. So every 3 months, this is the fee just to keep our program up and running. Every 3 months, there is either a $10 fee if you choose electronic statements or $13.75 if you choose paper statements. And if you've chosen multiple options to make up your account, this quarterly maintenance fee will be divided equally amongst the options. It will not be multiplied. So if you've chosen 3 options, it will not charge you $10 3 times. It will split up the $10 so that it comes evenly out of the different options. So it's not going to cost you more quarterly fees to choose more options when you're opening the account. And then there's no fees on top of that. So there's no enrollment fee, no withdrawal fee, no overdraft fee, nothing like that. So some different options that are available to ABLE account owners. There is a federal tax credit called a saver's credit of up to $2,000 to help save for retirement. There's also an option to roll over from a 529 college savings account to the ABLE account with no federal or state tax implications. So if you've already got a college savings account and the money's just sitting there because you or your child already went to college and there's money left over, or you're not going to go to college and the money's just sitting there because you don't want those penalties or those taxes of withdrawing the funds for a non higher education related expense, then you can roll it over to an ABLE account with none of those fees, and then you can begin accessing those funds. So that's a really great option there. And again, there's a lot more information about those options, all the specifics on our website that you can access anytime. So different ways you can contribute or withdraw from your account. ABLE is super flexible. So you can contribute just by sending us a check in the mail if that's easier for you. You can set up payroll direct deposit. You can do electronic fund transfer on our website. You can sign in, say that you want to make a deposit, and type in all of the information from the other account you want us to pull the money from. And you can deposit that way, either one time or setting up recurring contributions. Again, we said you can roll over from another state's 529 or ABLE account. And there's also an online gifting option called UGift. So with UGift, everyone with a New York ABLE account gets a unique UGift code. You can share that code with whoever you'd like, and they can sign into the UGift website, type in the code, and gift you money. So the really nice thing about that, in addition to allowing other people to help you out financially and contribute to your ABLE account, is that you can do that safely while keeping your protected information private. So you don't have to give out your account number for someone to contribute. You don't have to give out your social security number for someone to contribute. You can just give them your UGift code, and the only thing they can do with that code is give you money. And withdrawing is super easy as well. Again, if you've chosen that checking option, you can use your ABLE debit card or check to have the money come right out super easily. If you have the money in those investment options, you can always call us or again, sign in online and you can request a withdrawal either one time or automatic recurring withdrawals so that checks come to you every month out of your ABLE account. You can even request a withdrawal to a third party through the website. So if you get a medical bill in the mail and you want the money to go straight from New York ABLE to that doctor's office instead of the money having to flow through you, you can do that as well. And you can always download a paper form on our website if that's easier for you. So to sign up, again, you can download a paper form on the website, or you can just enroll online in about 10 minutes. So you'd gather the information of the eligible individual. Obviously, you would know it if it's you, but you'd need to gather the information if it is for a child or someone you're guardian of or something like that. So you'd need name, date of birth, address, social security number, and phone number of the eligible individual, their basis of eligibility. So that's whether they have a doctor's note or they qualify for SSI or SSDI or what. And their category of disability. And there's a drop down menu there. And then you would choose your investments. So all 5 options will be listed there with a box next to it. And you would be typing in that box what percentage of every deposit you want going into each of those options. So it can be 100% in one and 0% in all the others, or you can split it up however you'd like. It's completely up to you. And you can change those options for future deposits at any time. And you can get the account funded with as little as $25 or $15 if you choose payroll deduction. So on the screen right now is all of our contact information. Our call center can be reached weekdays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 855-5NY-ABLE. We also participate in the New York Relay System. Our website, of course, is accessible 24/7. And all of my contact information is on the screen right now as well. So if you have more questions after today, or you know anyone else that might be interested and has questions, or you're working with another organization that might want a presentation, you can give me a call or send me an email anytime. I'm happy to help. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we can see if we've got any questions. Let me see. So I don't see any questions in the chat. You can all feel free to
I think
unmute yourself.
Darlene had her hand up, and then we have Alex after, right, Darlene?
Okay. Great, Darlene. Oh, Darlene, it looks like you're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Jenna. I actually did one of these programs before with Mr. Tom DiNapoli and Angela Santa Barbara. And
Yep.
I have an ABLE account. One
Perfect.
question that I often come in with is when it's time for me to go to like social services, I often discuss with them about this, and they're like dumbfounded with this. They have no clue what the heck an ABLE account is, and when it comes time to, enroll like in Medicaid, SNAP, food stamps, etc., and other social service programs, they're like, oh, well, that money's going to get counted against you, etc. Could you explain a little bit more about how that works?
So we're about 6 years old. The oldest ABLE account in the country is only about 8 years old. So sometimes there is still some um some gaps in who is knowledgeable about the program and who is not. Legally, they are not allowed to count the money in your ABLE account. SSI will count anything over 100,000 in your ABLE account, but the rest of them are not allowed to count any of it. And SSI is not allowed to count anything under 100,000. It is federal legislation, it is federal law, and it is state law. So if you run into someone like that, you can always print out the legislation and hand it to them. You can give us our phone number so they can discuss it with us. You can tell them that you need to speak with their supervisor or someone that is more knowledgeable because they legally cannot count the money in your account. And hopefully the higher ups, the people, a lot of the time, the people that you're speaking with are not the people that are actually looking at your money and um, disqualifying you every month based on your money and that sort of thing. So hopefully the people that are higher up that are actually making those determinations on a monthly basis about your benefits, those people should all be very, very aware. We report our accounts to Social Security every month so they know everyone that has a New York ABLE account and their balance. I think that's all we report to them. And we report to the IRS every year. So the people that really need to know at Social Security do know. But like I said, if you run into anybody that doesn't know, feel free to direct them to us or direct them to their supervisor or anything like that, because we're not just making a claim that they're not supposed to be counting this. And, we didn't just invent our program out of nowhere. It's federal and state legislation. So even if they're not aware of it, they're still not allowed to count it.
Can I take your email? I just took a picture of the screenshot of your email. Can I take that email that you have and CC you?
Of course, I will type it into the chat right now.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, let me see. I see some questions in the chat. Can I share the PowerPoint? And so Sam said that we will be posting the presentation on YouTube, so that's good. Feel free to share that with anybody. And I can send a PDF of the PowerPoint to Sam after the presentation so she can share it with anybody who attended or anybody that couldn't attend.
I think Alex had a question next.
Okay.
I was
Hi,
wondering
Alex.
if you did like if you could do like a one-on-one meeting by any chance, because I have some like personal questions that I don't think could get answered in a group setting.
Of course, yes. Send me an email and we can set up a time that works for both of us. And we can either do a phone call or a video call, whatever you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And anybody, I'm not sure what everybody's situation is today. I'm not sure if you are the person with the disability, or if some of you may be a parent, or if some of you may work at certain organizations and might want to share this information with other people. But I'm always happy to do that. You can always just call me or email me. But I've also done one-on-one video calls with a benefits advisor that has a client that has questions, and it's just the three of us getting into a video call. It doesn't need to be a whole huge presentation. If you don't want it to be, that's fine.
Hey, Jen, I have a question. So we have my wife and I are the guardians for our 24-year-old son, and
Okay.
we do a special needs trust for Timmy.
Okay.
But we do not have any money in it yet, because then we'd have to have an accountant. There'll be tax implications for the account. So
Right.
it sounds like the ABLE program does not have tax implications in the money that's in the account. Is that
Correct. As long as you're using it for qualified disability expenses, then it's not taxable income. So the money can grow tax-free and be removed tax-free. The pro con list, I'd say, with the special needs trust is the con of New York Able is there is that annual contribution limit, which there is not with a special needs trust.
right?
So if we're talking about someone planning for an inheritance, aging parents, aging grandparents, and they might get $50,000 or $100,000, they can have a special needs trust and an ABLE account.
Okay, you
So
can
that's
do.
where you can put the bulk of the money in there, and they can withdraw and move $18,000 a year into their ABLE account, so they've got lower fees, easier access, and no taxes to that portion of the money. So you can always maximize your benefits.
So the special needs trust could be long-term care after we're gone, kind of a thing, and then the ABLE account could be the daily living expenses, while we're still here.
Absolutely.
No tax.
And like I said, he can be, even after you're gone, he can be transferring 18,000 or whatever the limit is then to the ABLE account every year, because with the ABLE account, if he's able to manage his own account by himself after you're gone, like I said, if you have the checking option, you can just have a debit card, and it's super quick and easy to spend the money, where I know to access the funds in a special needs trust is a little bit of a process. So yeah, you can always utilize both of them. And one quick thing, just a tip for you, if you're going to be opening it for him, if you fall under multiple categories, you're the parent and you're the guardian, easiest thing to do is just check that you're the parent. Because if you say that you're the power of attorney or guardian or representative payee, then we need to see those proofs, because we have to make sure
Okay.
that legally you do have those powers. But spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, we don't need any proofs. So that's just a little bit of a tip for you to make it a little easier when you open.
Good. No, appreciate that. And can we add people to the account, like, his siblings, down the road as we get older?
Yeah, so you can't have more than one person managing the account at the time. But if you get so old that you're just not able to manage it anymore, the sibling can open an account for their sibling, and everything can get rolled over, so they would have a new account.
Oh.
Or if you're able to manage it until you're gone, right when you open the account, you can go onto our website and go to the forms section, and there is what's called a successor authorized individual form. So if you are anyone other than the person with the disability, if you're a family member, the representative payee, guardian, whoever, you're considered the authorized individual on the account. So you can set up a successor authorized individual, so that in the event of your death, it will automatically roll over to your wife being the authorized individual, or one of your other children,
Okay.
whoever you'd like.
Good to know.
Perfect. Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No problem at all.
Just
Okay, I
had
don't
one
see.
more quick question, if you don't mind.
Of course, no, not at all.
Is the contribution limit, like the annual 17,000, just gifted money? Or like, is that the annual limit that you can deposit total?
It's the total annual amount of money that you can deposit. The
Okay,
reason
is that even when you open the account?
Yes. But I mean, now that we're at the end of the year, say you do have a large amount of money that you need to put away quickly. Now that we're at the end of the year, everything resets January 1st. So you'd be allowed to deposit 17,000 right now, and you'd be allowed to deposit 18,000 come January because that limit's going up. So it always resets on January 1st. And like I said, it's all of the contributions combined, unless again, if you work, I think the details of it are that if you work, but you and your employer, neither of you contribute to a retirement account for you during that calendar year, then you can contribute that additional amount. So if you are someone that has a large sum of money, you are going to be putting away the maximum amount, and you work, but you don't have the retirement account, then you can contribute a little over $30,000 right now per year. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. And again, the reason for that contribution limit is so that it stays equal to the gift tax exemption, so that the IRS doesn't have to nitpick everybody's accounts and figure out who gave them money and how much and when and if they should be taxed on it or not. So if they just keep it equal to the gift tax exemption, then they never have to worry about that. But it is all of the contributions combined, not just per person.
Are there any
Anybody
other
else? I think I see one more in the chat box. Is there any limit on how much the individual can earn from working? There is absolutely not. So this is one of my favorite things about the ABLE account is how flexible it is depending on what your situation is. So we've got people that are not working, receiving benefits, living in a group home, have very, very little money to their name, but they need the ABLE account because they just want to put away any extra money so that they don't go over their resource limit, have their benefits impacted, and they don't want to be blowing that money every month. They want to actually have some sort of little nest egg there. But we also have people that make six figures that don't qualify for benefits. They maybe have a physical disability or, something like that, where they're still able to work full time, no problem. And they're using it as an addition to their retirement savings. They're maxing out their retirement every year and then maxing out their ABLE account every year. Or one person has even told me that he likes the way his ABLE account is performing more than he likes the way his retirement account is performing. So he's planning on stopping his retirement contributions come December 31st so that he can contribute that additional amount to ABLE instead of to his 401k or 403b, whichever he had. So it really is very flexible depending on the situation. And then there's lots of people like me, for one, who have middle income, and I basically use my account instead of a flex spending account. I use it for my copays and prescriptions and things like that. So really, as long as you've got a disability that was present prior to 26, you're good. Anybody else?
I
Oh,
think
it
we
looks
have
like Darlene's
Darlene
got another
again.
question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I had one more question. Let's say a person gets SSI, and say, for instance, they're working, they have an ABLE account, and they don't make a lot of money, but they make enough where it impacts their Social Security, their SSI. Now, since everybody's making their own decisions for themselves, but how do you think a person knows if it's more beneficial to have their money go in a regular checking account versus an ABLE account? And like, would Social Security still count it if it's in an ABLE account versus a regular account? And like, as work expenses, etc.
Yeah. So if we're talking about income being over the income limit, for any of your programs. The ABLE account is not going to change that. So if you make too much money and you put the extra money in the ABLE account, you're still going to be making too much money. It's still going to count it as income, even if it goes into the ABLE account. So the ABLE account is just for, just to get around the resource limit, not to get around the income limits. So if we're talking SSI, you're still allowed to have $2,000 in your own name outside of the ABLE account. So you can always have up to that. And anything more you would want in your ABLE account so that your benefits don't get impacted. I'm not saying you have to have an ABLE account instead of everything else. Like I said, you can still have all of the other options available to you on top of the ABLE account. And maybe having $2,000 in your own name would be beneficial, you know, in a separate checking account. Maybe it would be beneficial if you get into the situation where you're looking at the definition of a qualified disability expense for ABLE and you're looking at those examples, and whatever you're planning on purchasing, you're feeling a little iffy about it. You're like, oh, I don't know if this would qualify. I'm not really sure. Even calling us doesn't necessarily help with that because it's up to the IRS, not to us. So if it's something that's iffy, we're not even allowed to advise you on it. So if you get into that situation, you want to go to the casino and you're like, oh, I don't know if the IRS would think that going to the casino is a qualified disability expense. Then it's nice to have money in your other checking account that nobody is counting where the money's going, you know, so you can always keep the money separate. So you've got some outside of ABLE just in case a non-qualified disability expense comes up. But yeah, everybody handles it differently. Some people only have ABLE, some people don't have ABLE, some people, you know, split the money up. It's totally up to you. Sorry if that was wishy-washy and not exactly answering your question.
Well, definitely, if there are any more questions, if you think of any after the presentation today, you could send them our way and I can forward to Jenna, or she did put her email in the chat. So I will post this presentation on our YouTube today. So if you want to look back and watch it, it'll be there for you. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
You too. Have a great day, Sam.